Dobrze, zapraszamy do przodu, jest jeszcze sporo miejsc. O proszę, widzę, że mamy jakieś efekty specjalne w dniu dzisiejszym. Fajnie. Dobrze. Drugi mikrofon będzie? Drugi też. Okej, moi drodzy, myślę, że w takim razie możemy zaczynać. Znajdę tylko klikera do slajdów, tu jest. I postaramy się zmienić też nasz język. Okay, so hi everyone, thank you for attending this event. We are at Aula Polska number 180, and today we will be talking about sales in startups and how to do a global startup from Poland. And especially to this event, we invited three people who are really good in making the things global. The first guy who will be presenting to us and sharing his knowledge will be Mick Griffin from Traffic and Brand24, who has great experience in building B2C and B2B SaaS companies. Then we'll have Mateusz Kurleto, who is the founder of Neoteric, who will also share his view of making things global. And the last guest will be Ariel Finkelstein, who is an advisor of many international startups, especially Zoe. He's also advising Innovo, Bivalue. He's also helping me to make things much more global with Just Join IT. He's really good guy, and I think it will be great value to meet him. Okay, what is more? At 14th of December, we will be hosting here Aulere, and Aulere is the most known probably competition for startups here in Poland, and we have a record-breaking number of applications, which is 235. And it will be really tough to decide which startup is the best. So it will be really hard task from the jury, and we'll have like 2-3 next weeks to decide. And I also invite you to this event. You can book your tickets at aulere.com, at aulapolska.pl. We do not have a lot of places. Janek? Okay. After part and the budget will be, I think, a big surprise to you. I don't want to, reveal all my cards right now. However, we will like good parties, and already will also have great celebration. Okay. So regarding today our lineup, as I said, first guy will be Mick Griffin, who will be talking about sales mistakes on the way to your first 500 customers. Then Mateusz Kurleto, and what does it mean to scale, and is entering US market the way for it? And after that, it will be Ariel Finkelstein, who will talk how to build a strong B2B company out of Poland. And then I think it will be a great time to have a networking all together, because I think that we had the sold out, so we sold 220 tickets. Thank you for attending and for giving us your time. Okay, so I think that we can start, and let's welcome Mick Griffin with warm applause. Hi, Mick. Okay, the stage is yours. I will give you the microphone.
Thank you very much. Do we have a clicker? Yeah. Lovely clicker. Okay. Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. Piotr, and thank you so much for inviting me. As Piotr said, he picked 3 really smart people to speak about global sales today. One wasn't available, so he invited me to take his place. So yes, it's actually, I was talking to a couple of people. For those who haven't heard me speak or present before, please be aware I will probably talk very fast. I've got a lot of slides. Don't worry if you don't catch them all at the same time. My goal is always to just give as much information as possible during the time that I'm on stage. And then please grab me afterwards to talk about anything specific, because again, when Tomek and Piotr invited me and said that I can speak here, they said it's startup sales. You can pick whatever you want to talk about. And one thing that I've been very careful of is I didn't want to actually tell too many people what they should do. Because what you'll see through my presentation is I believe that to be successful in sales, in startups, in various different businesses, it's very much a combination of all these great tactics that you hear from very smart people on the market, people like Piotr and so on. Then it's a really nice mixture with you and your people and your culture. And that's why we don't have so many founders out there that did this 20 times, because it's not such a copy and paste formula. So what I thought I would do instead is try to talk to you a little bit about maybe the mistakes that I've made over this time, growing businesses, working in various different brands. And please, the number 500 doesn't matter today. Some companies are striving to make 10 customers this year. Some are making 500, some are making 5,000. So this today is really about sharing with you the mistakes that I've made and hopefully showing you how you can avoid them, let's say. So the first thing I did is I made a mistake with the title of my slide, because what I also, oh, there we go. No, oh, there we go. No, this is, Tomek, this might be the wrong presentation. So, yes, let's see. No, we're okay, we're good, it's okay, just checking you. It's okay? Yes, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do is say, when I was making this presentation, it was about the first customers, thinking about startups in those early days when you don't have huge budgets for ad campaigns, but what I also came to the realization is that it can also hopefully be valuable for people who are looking for the next 100 customers, next 500 customers. And as I said, it's going to be 8. And the style of the presentation is going to be that I'm going to talk about these 8 mistakes. And all I want to do today is ask you questions. With every mistake, there's a question that I want you to think about tomorrow, the next day when you get back with your teams. And I want you to just question the things that you are doing. Yeah, because a lot of sales is not rocket science. I wish it was. It would make me feel much more in demand. But actually, a lot of it is fundamentals that we just forget over time. So for those who haven't had a chance to meet me, or I haven't had a chance to know you before, my name is Mick Griffin, currently head of growth at Trafford. I've spent the last 14, 15 years working in Poland with tech startups at GetResponse, Brand24, and now Trafford. And also what I'm really humble and grateful about is I've also had a chance to work in consulting roles for over 20 different startups in Poland as well. So I'm going to try to share with you some of that information. I'm going to start with the problem, and this is something that you're going to see also through my sales technique. I'm going to start with the problem. Why am I here? Why do I actually feel that we even have this Aula talking about this topic of startup sales? It's because what's the top reason that startups fail? 38% of startups run out of money, yeah? And in Poland, this is maybe even a stronger pandemic, because we have phenomenal talent in terms of developing and creating businesses and creating technologies, yeah? But 38% of startups run out of money. Now, yes, of course, some of that can be related to, oh, we didn't get to raise the next round, the Series A, Series B, but fundamentally, this is down to lack of revenue and lack of sales, yeah? Let's not ignore this, it's okay. Sometimes we build great products and nobody ever hears about them. So what I want to do is share sometimes how we can solve that. Now, the other reason why I'm talking today about mistakes is because the magic formula is, in my opinion, there is no magic formula. I wish I could print out a sales strategy for everyone and just leave it on the chairs and I could go and drink some free beer. But fundamentally, I think that there is no magic formula. Like I said, it's a mixture. It's a mixture of all these great advices, and it's a mixture of all the great mentors we can find on the market, mixed with your people, your brand, your culture. So 8 common mistakes in sales processes. Let's get started. the first one is probably the one that you're all going to look at me and go, you crazy, Mick, yeah? Not having a goal. Sales mistake number one, yeah? And what I mean by not having a goal, this is the first question that I want you to take away. And again, don't worry about writing it down or so on. Like, you can have this later, which is, what would be a successful 2023 for you in terms of sales, in terms of revenue? Now, when I'm doing consulting, when I'm meeting with businesses and I'm asking them this question, you will be surprised how many people don't actually know the answer. Because so many of us look at our businesses and go, I'm really sure we could be making more sales. I'm really sure we are leaving money on the table. But when I ask, okay, great, so what do you need to do? Are we going from probably selling 200 new clients in the next year and we really want it to be 400, or what do we know? And founders, God bless you for the ones that are in the room today, you're going to hate me after this, which is they normally, when I ask them this question, we fall on two sides of the panel. One is, what would be a successful 2023? And found them that the extremely confident founder is like, world domination, like number one in the market. I want to take on Salesforce. We are going to be the best. I want to be this. I want to be that. I'm like, fantastic. What's the number? And they don't have it, yeah. But they know that deep down they want to be more. They want to be greater. They want to be more visible, and that's great. I'm not saying that confidence is bad. Now, the other end of the spectrum is this guy, which is, I have founders that say, you know what, Mick, if I can just positively affect 5 people's lives next year, I'm going to feel great. Okay, but it's not going to work. Like, we need a number. We need a number. And what I mean by this is, like, again, we all, and this is not only about kind of P&Ls and the benefits of being profitable and so on. Fundamentally, we need a number. So this is Traffic's number for 2023. And if I would have known my competitor would have been in the room today, I might have hidden this number, but it's fine. Yeah, I give it up. It's okay. I'm joking. So what I mean is, like, this is a very specific number. It's 756 new clients in 2023. That's a goal for us, yeah? And why do I need it to be specific? Now, one thing is obviously to make sure that we've got the plans in place to grow, to have the right amount of revenue, sales. That's all great. The real reason why I need this number is for this number. How many leads do I need in 2023 to hit my sales goal, yeah? This is fundamentally important for me, because what I actually believe in as a startup, as a technology business, sometimes our biggest problem is that we want to sell to everybody. Everybody can take our business. I was talking to a startup recently, and I was like, okay, what do you want to do this year? We want to have 55 new contracts. Fantastic. What's the plan? We just got a list of 55,000 email addresses we're going to send to them tomorrow. Okay, I can't say that it's wrong, but I wouldn't recommend it, because what I want Traffic to be is, I know that for 2023, all I have to do is be fantastic for 5,000 businesses. I don't have to be great for 75,000 businesses. I can worry about them later, yeah? And this is not me being a rocket science, as I said. We know businesses out there that have already done this, yeah? Airbnb launched just trying to conquer San Francisco. Facebook just started by being in colleges and universities. Now, I think like 2 years ago, the last study was that the biggest rising demographic on Facebook was like 45 years old and above, yeah? There's no chance Zuckerberg thought about that when he was building Facebook in the beginning, because if he would have never ended up with a product that was great for everybody. So by actually knowing what you need to deliver next year, you can decide how many people you need to be great for and expand later, yeah? So you'll see that some of my mistakes, some of my points, they roll into one another. They're very common. So as I said, one of the biggest mistakes I see is we're trying to sell to everybody. And this is a mistake that is not easy to fix. Even knowing this at Traffic, we still have this problem. And selling to everyone is selling to no one. This is something that I've always preached forever and ever, that we need to be great. To have a great next year, we probably don't need to be great for every business on the planet, especially even if they can use your product. That's the hardest part ever. It's much easier when there's certain people that by default can't use your product. But when you know that everybody possibly could, it's even harder to narrow down and start to be able to say no to people. So the second question I've got for you is, do you know tomorrow when you open your laptop and you're going to work, or you're going to start connecting with your team members, who is your perfect customer? And when was the last time you actually checked it? Yeah? This changes constantly. So for me, when I joined Traffic 2.5 years ago, and we thought, okay, we probably would be really good for startups and SaaS products in Poland. Okay, let me go speak to Camille from Server K and ask him why is he using a different product. And one of the things I realized is he was like, I thought Traffic was for freelancers, yeah? And that was a prime example of the fact that Traffic was, and still to some extent we have this problem, we were trying to take customers from all the places, agencies, freelancers, tech companies. We were trying to be great for everybody. And this is something that is totally understandable because when we're a startup, we want to make money, but we don't realize sometimes how much that money and how much that one customer or two customers pulls us off track. So we've got to try to be really good for a really specific group of people that actually will get us to our goal for 2023. The next one is not having company-wide buy-in. Now, this is a little bit strategical, but I always share it because I think it's super important, right? So let's say you've answered question number 2. Who do we want to be great for? And you've sat down, you've thought, oh, great, I really want to be good for tech companies in USA. Fantastic. Go ask your CTO. Go ask your CMO. Go and ask like your social media manager. Who do they think you should be great for? And again, during my time, when we do this exercise inside some really, really great companies, you'll be surprised how much the answer different. So for example, if there's a company that thinks it's building rockets, the amount of time I've seen it when sales and marketing are like, yes, we are building Lego rockets. They are going to be amazing. We are going to target families and children. It's great. And then you open the door to product and IT and they're building actual rockets with actual engines. And you realize that there's a massive disconnect between what we are trying to sell and what we are trying to build, because too often we don't sit still, we don't stop, and we don't make sure that the company's in alignment. And when I joined Traffic, this is another example, which was, I believe that fundamentally most markets are split up into 3 categories. What is it that you do? Should I buy it? Or I already know what you do and I need to pick a provider. And when I joined Traffic, our marketing was very much base level. What is an ATS? Let me explain it to you. But when you looked at our product positioning on the market, our pricing was actually for a totally different audience because our pricing was already too expensive for the lower group. Yeah, we didn't have a freemium really. We didn't have affordable pricing. And then when we went into product, we were building advanced customizations, integrations, being specific for companies like Randstad and so on. So one thing that you have to do as a business, no matter if you're 5 people or 50, make sure the team is aligned. Make sure that if you know what the ideal customer persona is, so does every other department, even down to accounting, because the way that you invoice, the way that you bill your clients matters. Yeah, so you get this synchronization that is all about back into sales and bringing clients on board. And to give you an example, this is like just a little add-on here, which is make sure that you don't go to your team tomorrow and say, who is our ideal customer? And I'll give you an example. What we do at Traffic every 3 or 4 months, we have a question which is, which customer do you think that we should be best for? And we gave them an idea of NetGuru, Adecco, Poland, and Żabka. So for anyone who isn't familiar with the recruitment space, these are fundamentally different types of businesses and how they process. And you can see that even after we do this really hardcore in Traffic, we still have various different answers. And when you've got a company with 30, 40 people, if 2 people are pulling in a different direction or trying to sell a different kind of business or build a different type of product, you can be losing 6-7% efficiency of your entire company just by 2 people in the same room thinking that they are building slightly different things. Sales mistake number 4 that I've learned super recently. Now as Piotr said, previously I worked at Brand24, and Brand24 is an inbound sales lead machine. Even now I have to ask Sadek what we get, but even when I was there, it was 10,000 new leads every month coming in, testing the product. And now I realized that isn't for everybody. And your business has to consider this. Super, super important. As founders, as heads of marketing, growth, even heads of sales, we think that inbound is the holy grail. But this meme kind of like summed it up for me. We don't always realize that inbound actually can take us away from what we are trying to do. So question number 4 that I have for you is, do you qualify your inbound leads? Because one of the things that I was guilty of in the past, still guilty of till very, very recently, even at Traffic, was okay, we have an outbound strategy. We are going after tech companies in Europe. And it was like, oh shit, wait, we have 10 inbounds. Let's talk to them. Let's do whatever we can. Yeah. And we suddenly get off track and we think that we've got a great process. And then my sales team come to me saying, okay, I've got a 75 question document from a power plant in Lithuania. What should we do? And I was like, oh, we don't think we should do that, to be honest, because we don't really have the infrastructure in place to actually be for that kind of client. But when you're in startup mode and you get someone that wants to take your business and you don't have to fight for them, we feel ourselves getting pulled all over. Suddenly we're taking leads from China, from USA, in various different categories. And we're bending over backwards to kind of close national government accounts when actually we want to be for tech companies and really, really lean. So it's a super important question in your organization if you are ready to be able to say no to some inbound leads that are not your ideal customer persona. And they can be really, really distracting. We've got to be very careful how we do this. And they, for me, was like what I did today is I split it into kind of like 4 mistakes that we make maybe on a positioning, on a strategic level. And now what I want to do is cut into kind of like mistake number 5 to 8, which is more about working directly with leads, okay? Sales mistake number 5, and you're all, I believe that you all go, yes, I know this. We shouldn't be talking about ourselves, we should be talking about problems. Yet my inbox is filled every day with people not talking about my problems, yeah? We've got to be really, really aware of this. So question number 5, which is, my ideal customer persona, what is their problem today? And I know even in this room, we have some phenomenal businesses that are already international on the market, but also think how much the landscape has changed in the last 2 weeks, never mind the last 2 years. So the thing that when we were building our business from the scratch and we were like, okay, our potential clients, they really have a problem with things being too complicated. We're going to simplify it. Yes, we're going to do that. That might be completely different today, because things change. Teams get smaller, budgets get smaller, things change. So we have to ask ourselves again, what is the biggest problem that they have? Now, some of you have seen me talk about this before, which is, for a very long time, we've had the aha moment. Anyone heard of the aha moment? Yeah, there's some nodding. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And I really like the aha moment. It's that thing in sales, which is like, let's get the lead to the aha moment, and they're going to buy the product. That's normally how it works, which is great. But we now live in a world that makes that slightly harder, because when we say to somebody, let me show you the aha moment, they're like, no, don't have time for you today. I'm busy. Yeah. So what we have to look at from a sales perspective and a growth perspective is this is no longer the timeline that we can focus on, which is after someone becomes a lead. We have to think about what was the problem that they had, what was the pain they had, before they even started considering to use a service like yours, yeah? So if we have that aha moment for that positive interaction, when I get to show someone that sweet part of the product, we have the oh fuck moment for the pain, yeah? So in my industry, in recruitment, one of these first ones is, oh, our back-end developer just resigned. Oh, fuck, yeah? That's what I'm approaching here. The oh fuck moment is when the pain occurs. And it's pain and looking for, and that demand and need for solution that drives forward the decision making, that drives forward the action. Because if someone doesn't have a pain and you haven't identified it for them, they will not invest their time into you in 99.9% of the cases. And I explained this lately, that pain doesn't have to be severe. Pain doesn't have to be severe. So the way I can explain it is, I imagine that you have a little cut from a piece of paper on your hand. You're not feeling it. It's okay. You are working day to day. You're getting by without it. In sales, what we have to do is say, can you just touch that for a second? How does it feel? Oh, crap, that really hurts. That's our job, to remind people of the pain, of the problem. So, and not only do we have to find the pain, we have to remember that there can be multiple pains. Oh, my backend developer just resigned. Oh, crap. Like, I have a need. I'm probably going to need a solution to this. Okay, let's go find some candidates. Oh, shit, that's harder than I thought it was going to be. Okay, let's go, let's go talk to one of our developers and see if they've got any friends that they want. Okay, that's not so. So the pain is constantly developing, and we have to track it, and we have to go with it. So talking about problems is key, yeah? So in my market, when we do this, we have to constantly be checking it. And I have one lead from Romania whose problem is affordability, that there's no affordability. No, they see ATSs as being enterprise in their market. The second thing is we obviously have networks, yeah? Right now is the problem that we don't have enough candidates or the wrong candidates. This is obviously from my industry in recruitment, and we can see which problems are evolving. And the other thing that you can do, which I'm going to explain why later, is every time you talk to a lead, validate the problem as well. Hey, listen, I just looked at your website, and I guess that you're having a real problem getting people to the pricing page. Actually, yes, I am. Great. We validated the problem. Yeah, so talking to people, making interviews. Now, this is extreme because what we did at Traffic, and I recommend, and I think a lot of you already do this in the room, is when you're doing those discoveries, invite people, if you can record them and share them as information. Bottom line with sales, you only have to solve one pain. That sounds easy, right? The hard part, it has to be the right pain, and you have to solve it really well. So what I mean by that is, like, when you're doing a sales pitch, you don't have to pitch 10 solutions, 10 features. We have to pitch one really well and see if it connects with the actual lead that we are talking to. Okay, mistake number 6, not providing value first. Okay, this is something that, anyone here heard of Gary Vee? Yeah? Yeah, we've heard of Gary Vee probably, one way or the other. I go through phases with Gary Vee where I love him and then I hate him because he just says the same thing. But the thing that he does say over and over is this thank you economy. Give, 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 give first, yeah? And this is something that sometimes we forget. So one thing, again, question number 6 that I'm going to honestly recommend that you do tomorrow when you connect with your team, ask yourself the question, when I'm pitching a lead first or when I'm making a first connection with a lead, am I asking for something? Or am I giving something? Yeah? Sales has a very fundamental problem right now that I think you're all going to connect with, which is can we have a 15-minute call? This is an ask. This is not giving value. This is an ask. And what I love about this is about a year ago, the whole community decided, oh, we've been asking for 30-minute calls and people don't like it. We need a solution. Let's ask for 15 minutes instead. It's not the solution, right? Because we are asking up front. We are asking, hey, listen, you don't know me. You have no idea who I am. I want you to give me 15 minutes of your time. And we don't value time as currency. Time is a currency. If you're asking people for 15-minute calls, for a test, go tomorrow, instead of asking for 50 minutes, ask them for $5. Ask them for €5, because it's the same thing. We have to think about it as a currency. And value can be more than an ebook link, because this is what we did. When we're like, okay, we have to give something first. We have to build trust. Let's give them a blog post. Let's give them an ebook link. Let's give them a report for free. And yes, it's still giving, which is phenomenal. I really appreciate that. And it works, and it's still better than saying, give me something back. But what we can also realize, value can be giving a shit. So what that means is like, hey, John, I'm reaching out because I saw on your website that you just closed a deal with Uber. That's amazing, great job. I'm sure that's phenomenal for your team, and probably you've increased the workload 10%. It can be more valuable, more personal than actually getting like a link or a free download or a free coupon or whatever it may be. Value doesn't have to be something tangible. It can be something very emotional just by showing leads that we care. Yeah. Sales mistake number 7. Limited to live channels. This is probably my hot bee in my bonnet topic that I'm getting used to so far, which is, do you need live interaction to give leads value? So some of you have seen this example before. So I had a lead in the past when I was working at Brand 24 that was like, made a good connection, looks like you guys are getting a good service. And I was like, okay, it's a nice pitch. I like this, it gets me. And then that person was like, hey, listen, actually, Mick, I help chief revenue officers lower churn in SaaS companies. And I was like, I'm a chief revenue officer in a SaaS company, and I have a problem with churn. Okay, it's a really good pitch so far. And then he wrote, can we have a quick 15-minute meeting? And what I wrote, and I even checked this person out on LinkedIn, I mean, even their job title was like churn reduction experts for helping chief revenue officers. It was like slam dunk. And I was actually bought in. I had a problem with churn at Brand 24. It was a huge problem. And I wrote to this lead and I said, hey, listen, I love what you're saying. Churn is a hot topic, so I'm telling you that I'm a qualified lead, but I don't want to call yet. Pitch me. Tell me anything else. Keep me here because I'm a little bit allergic to calls. Ironically, I've been in sales for a long time and I hate getting phone calls. And what happened was, 2 weeks later, he wrote back to me saying, "Oh, Mick, sorry about the delay. Actually, I looked at Brand 24 and I think you're doing everything right. I can't help you." And he was wrong. We were not doing everything right. Oh my God. But what happened was I took away his single channel of selling to me, which was a call, and he fell apart. He fell apart because as salespeople, we have to adapt to different ways that people want to be sold to, right? And he fell apart. So I started to run a little experiment because I get a lot of these, can I have 50-minute calls all the time through my LinkedIn like everyone else does. So I started saying, "I'm afraid I'm deaf. Can you pitch me any other way?" And this person stopped talking to me instantly. And this person I said, "Sorry, I'm deaf. I can't have a call." And then he wrote, "Okay, on the call, we can discuss your requirements." And I'm like, on the call? I just thought, like, it's fundamentally insane how much we can't break away. And that's why I said I didn't want to stand on the stage today and tell you what to do, because as a sales industry, we are suffering from being told what to do, follow the script, go through these steps. It makes no sense. So ironically, we get too caught up in this. But in the flip side, what I love is when people change the dynamic. So here was the girl from Hook, it is a SaaS, and she sent me a LinkedIn voice note, and I was like over the moon. I was like, yes, amazing. I don't have to have a call with you. You can pitch me value. Why do I love it? Because I get to choose when I consume the pitch, yeah? Time is one of our biggest enemies in sales. So therefore, every time you have to sync your calendar and free time with a lead, you have lost, you have wasted, you are losing leads instantly, because if you have to communicate live all the time, you are going to lose leads. So give them things that they can consume in their own time. And this was even a scenario where I said, "I can't buy your product, but I love it. I come back to me, like I want to talk to you." And if anyone's wondering, like, "Yeah, Mick, that sounds great. How do I do it?" Even if you want to put this into your sales structure, there are tools that actually you can send non-synchronized communication and pitches, and the tools will tell you when your video was watched, how far did it go. Mostly all those things that you take from a traditional call. Like, you don't want to call when somebody stops listening because you didn't hit the right pitch. This will tell you, like, oh, the person sped you up to 2.5 speed after 5 seconds of speaking. Probably what you would do if you could on this presentation right now, but you can't, so sorry. But anyway, so Bonjoro, Vidya, these are all tools that you can actually pitch people and they can consume it in their own time, and you still got all the analytics and behavioral things that you're kind of looking for when you have live talks. Last but no means least, sales mistake number 8. Not playing the long game, yeah? So I think, again, I couldn't really come up with the right title for this mistake, but I basically wanted to ask you if your pitches are based on actions of your leads or times or like cycles. So what I mean is I've made this mistake where I've been like, on day 15, pitch the lead to buy your product. On day 12, tell them this. On day 4, but actually, this is a mistake in most cases, unless you're working on a huge number of leads, because in theory, we want to actually do things based on how our leads react and what they are doing, yeah? So what we have too much of is we are trying to sell on the first connection. And remember, that might work today if you are a Canva or someone like that, where you've got brand behind you. But if you're a startup or you're growing into a new market, your brand won't be able to back you up. So when somebody gets a pitch and they're like, first of all, don't know who you are. There's a small chance you hit the nail on the head with what you want to sell me, but you're already saying, like, go check out the pricing, and you've gone too fast. Now, one thing I went through with my team, and I don't know if this is valuable or not for you today, is to remember that there are so many things to take away from a lead interaction other than the sale. Please, please remember this, that if somebody says, like, hey, I'm not going to buy today because I have a 12-month contract. Great, awesome. Can you tell me, like, would you buy at the end of the contract? Yes, I would. Actually, that's great. Even all the way down to the fact of, could you tell me, like, I talked to you today about this problem, which was that, traffic will save you time. Can you just, I know you don't want to buy the product today, but can you tell me, is that a problem that you're actually facing right now? Yes, it is. Or no, it's not, but it's value. What we shouldn't do as salespeople and founders is when somebody says, Mick, I'm just not interested in buying traffic today, not what most of us do, we just shut down. Okay, how can I close this Zoom as soon as possible? We just give up. But what we can find out is so many other things. So we have this kind of like shopping list of data and feedback we can take from sales experiences, even if it's not the client. The other thing as well is like, we did the interviews when I started Traffic because I wanted to learn more about the industry. And 2 of these are actually now our client because, of course, it was part of my pitch. They didn't know it at the time, but I was playing the long game. First, I asked them, how are you doing? I think you're super smart. I'd love to show you out to the rest of the Traffic audience. They would love to hear from you, which they did. By the way, while I'm doing that, I'm going to learn all about the problems that the market is currently facing. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And then 2 months down the line, I can be like, by the way, are you still having that problem? Maybe I'll show you Traffic. Yeah, we're playing the long game. Yeah, we're playing the long game. These help. And you get to this is something I learned 20 years ago, like a long time ago in one of my first sales trainings was, you get to decide what is a close lost. Who relates with that? Who knows what a close lost is? It will show how many people are using a CRM. Yeah. You get to decide what a close lost is. It blew my mind when I heard this because I was like, oh, the client said, no, thank you. Okay, close lost. No, you don't have to. You can put them somewhere else. You can try to find a different value. And if you take anything away from today, it's this. Sorry about the graphic. I stole it from the internet. But it basically says 70% of salespeople give up after the first email. 70%. After no response from the first email, they give up. They stop pitching. They stop writing. They stop even asking anything. Even the crappy, did you get my last emails? They just don't do it. 70%. Yet, on average, it takes 5 touch points to actually get a client to convert. Yeah. So already, if you take away from this that I'm going to do 5 touch points instead of 1, you're already putting yourself at an advantage that 70% of the market is not. So it's really important that we stay connected. Now, just to kind of conflict with myself a little bit here, which is we have to react to what our users are doing. One of the fundamental things I get in Poland is that we sometimes overreact. What I mean by that is that, has anyone ever got an email like this? When I was at Brand24, sending automatically 10,000 emails from my email every day, I got these emails all the time. Can you stop fucking sending me emails, Mick? Like, go and die. And I'll be like, okay, I'm sorry. But when I talk to startups, when I talk to companies, it's so surprising that when they get that email once, they throw everything out of the window. That, oh my God, nobody wants our emails, turn it all off, slow it down, let's not be intrusive, let's not push people too far. No, first question you have to ask yourself, is this person in my ideal customer persona? Because if they're not, you don't have to care. It doesn't matter. Make sure you've got an unsubscribe link and you're fine. Like, don't throw everything away because one person gets offended. Yeah? I'm kind of like anti-GDPR, but my team hate me for it. But even with GDPR, yes, maybe you're not allowed to send someone an email. Go find them on LinkedIn. Go find them on Twitter. Go find them on Facebook, where they have abilities to send people information in the right way. So don't throw everything away when one person tells you it's too much. Okay, I have no idea how long I was, but probably too long. However, like I said, I will make this presentation available some way through lovely people at Aula, but like I said, I'm not here to reinvent what you do as a sales team or as a sales department or as a founder doing sales. What I am here to do is ask you, if you go back and ask yourself, are you doing the things that you probably learned years ago, you forgot about? Go and make sure that your team are on the same page as you, and just go revalidate the things that you already know, because sales is really hard, and sometimes we lose the fundamentals. So with that being said, thank you very much. I told you I would speak a lot.
Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Mick, once again. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
Any questions to Mick?
Oh no, okay.
Really great presentation. Thank you, Mick. I was writing down the questions, so we will take about an hour for all the questions, so
okay.
No problem. But so, just joking. One question. You said that sales have to have a number, yeah? And you've also said that focusing on inbound might spoil your effects or addressing ideal customer persona. So we are doing an outbound team because we want to structure our sales team. At the 17th slide, you said that the worst thing we can do is focusing in SDR. SDR is like outbound, top of the funnel, are focusing on scheduling a meeting because they are not giving any value. So what kind of number SDR should have if it's not scheduling a meeting?
Great question, by the way. And so what I would like to say is that I think that you definitely can kind of KPI goal SDRs on meetings scheduled with ICPs, let's say with ideal customer personas. I just think we should take the pressure away from them having to do it in the first reach out or like the second reach out to have time to build that. But on top of that, like you said, we have to have a number. But what I think that one of the mistakes I made, and I don't know if anyone else has done this, which is, again, we had this outbound, like, okay, SDRs, we need 5,000 leads by the end of the year that are SQLs or MQLs, however you decide to like explain them, like marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads. But we didn't have the same process with inbound. And then suddenly we were like, oh, you know what? We've got 1,000 inbound, so we only need 4,000 outbound leads. But when you actually qualify the inbound and you find out there's only 55 good ones, and then suddenly at the end of the year, you're wondering why your numbers are off. So what it was for me is like, yeah, like I think that SDRs, it's great to have SDRs separate from inbound. That's something that I've learned the hard way. I think it's really hard to do inbound and outbound at the same time. But fundamentally, we have to make sure that inbounds, we qualify them as soon as possible, like to make sure that they are part of that big 5,000, 10,000 leads, whatever you need in a year. So I do think that SDRs should book meetings. I just don't think it should be in the first reach out, if that makes sense.
Else? I have a quick question for a solver. I love selling. What was the worst sales pitch that you made? And then you thought, oh fuck, I sold.
I have a really good story for this. Sorry about that, but I've had this before.
You know?
So when I was living back in the UK, I was selling. Ironically, I was in a temporary recruitment agency, and it was hell. It was horrible. It wasn't a job that I wanted to do. I had a job, and what I basically did was every day I had to try to put workers in factories just for one day. That was like my role. And it was crazy that I had to make 100 calls before 9 a.m. every day. Because it was like after 9 a.m., work had started, factory was going. It was not really like in demand. So I had one factory guy, and these factory guys were like big, burly guys. And I'm like, oh, hey, John, it's Mick from Primetime Recruitment. Do you need anyone today? He's like, no, Mick, thanks very much. Cool. Next day, hey, John, I had to do it. It was the rule. I would get fired if I didn't. Hey, John, Mick from Mick, listen, buddy, I don't need you. If I need you, I'll call you. Great, no worries. Thanks, mate. Next day, Mick. I'm like, hey, John, it's Mick. He's like, Mick, will you just fuck off? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, John. Okay, yeah, I won't call you again. Next day, hey, John, it's Mick. He's like, Mick, you work at Primetime Recruitment. I was like, oh, it's a deal. I'm like, yeah, I've got Primetime. Yeah. Right, I'm going to come to the office and I'm going to knock you out. I was like, oh, shit. And purely, like, I don't know where it came from. I was like, listen, so while you come and knock me out, let me send someone to cover your work in the factory. And he laughed. And he didn't knock me out, by the way, thank God. But he literally was like, okay, you got me. Like, that was a little bit funny. But that's also something like a different sales tactic for me is that if you can make people laugh, it takes down all the walls. But yeah, the worst thing is when you're in a... Today it doesn't really happen, I don't think so much, but I think as an SDR or a sales rep, when you are in such a refined structure that you don't get to almost make any decision-making processes, it's horrible. It's horrible. I lasted in those jobs like 6 months at a time because it was like 100 calls before 9, 15-minute break, then do this script, and it was like, no point. But when I finally got into roles where I could do it my way or with a little bit of flexibility, and that's why I'm kind of a little bit anti-script. You can have scripts to help people fall back onto, but not to kind of like make them do it. But yeah. yeah, a little bit. Maybe just I was also being like a little bit of a shit, so yeah.
mogę tym rzucać?
Hi, Mick. You mentioned that there are many companies that say we can sell to anyone, we can help anyone. How do you think? They should start thinking about the ICP? How should they start evaluating who they should focus on?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely I think it's a great question. If obviously it's easy to say like narrow down, but maybe you don't know how to. So the first thing for me is still like, if you can sell to everyone, the first thing I can only remind everyone is that you don't actually have to, which is a scary thing for CEOs and founders to think about. But I think that from the first few slides, which is, how many people do you have to grow by? Okay, it's 1,000 new customers this year. How many leads do I potentially need to make that happen? Yeah. So I prefer to work with the numbers and then decide who's the group. So, okay, I need 10,000 potential leads this year to make my target. And then we did this at Traffic. It's so like we needed to say, let's say 7,000 businesses who were recruiting. And we were like, okay, so let's think about tech companies in Europe. And there was like 75,000. You can't stop there. Then you go, okay, so I need to get this down to 10,000. I actually have to work hard. Okay, how do I get this down? Okay, let's just do Central Eastern Europe. It got it down to 25. Okay, how can we go further? Let's look for companies that don't yet have an internal recruiter. Okay, that got me down to 10,000 and stop. So I actually I call it reverse engineering, or like, peeling the onion, however you want to call it, like all those fun things. But fundamentally, even if you can sell to everyone, I think it's the hardest thing because you don't have to. But I always think numbers first. What do I need? Then find the others. Because the other thing you can do, just to be aware of, you can go too narrow. You're like, okay, I need 700 clients next year, and you have a target audience of 1,100. You're like, oh, wait, shit, now I have to convert them at like 80%. Like, it's not going to work. So you can go too far. But numbers first, in my opinion, and then, okay, what would be a great group for that number, if that makes sense?
Thank you. Last question.
Oh, no, it's me.
Hey, Mick. All right.
Hey, man.
Well, here it goes. I'm just curious. Have you ever bought anything from a person that actually approached you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Is there could you share the story maybe?
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, like the funny thing is I can say yes because I always have one thing in my mind, but probably in general I've brought other tools, but I don't remember anymore that LinkedIn was where it started. And then it went to email, then we met at a conference, and then suddenly we ended up buying like Keep or whatever it may be. But I remember we bought a tool called Ask Nicely. And it was an NPS tool. And this is that, when I said 99.9% of the time things don't work, in my opinion, I literally just stopped having a meeting about we should be tracking NPS. And I got a message saying, like, we do NPS. I was like, okay, I just can't ignore that. It's just fate. Like, okay, good job. But like within milliseconds of finishing a meeting. But that was just because of the timing, but pure luck. But I think I've bought tools like we bought into D2 Crowd, we bought into Heap, we bought into AppQs through probably relationships that started online. But the other thing to know is that I don't count LinkedIn as like starting a relationship from an in-mail. I count it like we connected, they commented on my post, I commented on their post, etc. So, and the other thing as well, I think that some people did a really good job of me thinking I'm pitching them, and then they managed to pitch me and I bought their product. So yeah, it also works sometimes. But it happens, like I think, but I just don't remember, because the journey is so long and they play it so cool, I think it's multi-touched rather than just LinkedIn.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
Thank you, Mick, once again. Great applause to him.
Thank you.
Thanks. I really love this idea with voice messages on LinkedIn. Okay, let's go to Mateusz Kurleto and let's welcome him with warm applause. Mateusz, let's join us. Mateusz, what does it mean to scale and enter a US market?
Hello. So I'm Mateusz, or Matt, if you like it. I'm the founder of a couple of companies and organizations. Most of my businesses comes from the United States. So when Piotr asked me to share a couple of thoughts of how to enter the US market, because this is apparently something that many founders would love to do. Anyone has plans on entering the US markets anytime soon? Come on. Okay. Anyone want to sell something next year? No? Why are you here? There's beer all over the place. Okay, who is here to improve sales? Okay. Who wants to sell to the United States? Better. All right, so that's why I decided that I need to, for once, make a better presentation. So I was thinking about this guy. This is my friend. He apparently has a lot of guides on how to make a good presentation. So he always told me, like, Kurleto, for the fuck's sake, get prepared once in your life. So I was like, okay, get prepared. What do I do? So I need a story. So I sat my ass down, got to the basics, got to the storyboard. I was like, there's no story for me. This is my story. So, yeah, I'm sorry I did this presentation myself, including this beautiful drawing. And as you can see, if I can point, I cannot point because I'm terrible at that. But this is a question mark in the end. It's supposed to be. Because I didn't know what the end of the story is. Are we going to fuck up next year? Are we going to be great in the next 3 months? I don't really know, because we are in the middle of the story. So, when I found out that I'm talking about after this guy, and I already knew that there will be no classic hero story that I could brag about, I was thinking, what is that? Because I've learned a shitload from this guy. Hey, hello, you're here. So I was thinking, what was the first thing I've learned from him? And I met him at a great event that he used to organize. And he asked every single person on stage that he invited, and there were great people from all over the world. This was one of the first international sales development conferences I've been to. Still have friends from that time. And he asked them to have 3 takeaways, 3 things that you can implement instantly in your company tomorrow. And I didn't see Mick's presentation because he didn't want to share a train with me. So I didn't know what he's going to talk about, but that will bracket nicely in the end of my presentation. So Pipeline Summit was this conference, and of course there's a great representation straight from their official website of important guests that were there. So who knows what that is? I know one person who does. What's that? Okay, cool. So the difference is this is in scale, okay? So what this is, it's scaling. This is a small car, it is a bigger car, and if you want really nice one and the larger size, he went somewhere, probably for a car. Okay, now, do you know what this is? This is a small spaghetti machine, and this is a big spaghetti machine. And you know what that is? It's scaling. And now, this is a small company structure, and this is a larger company structure. Do you know what that is? Scaling. All right. There's a shitload of people at the conference, and all the cards that I brought from this conference, do you know what this is? Not scaling. So I was doing a phone call every day, even walking to my job on a Zoom trying to sell, and now I will hire 500 people to do the same. Do you know what that is? Not scaling. So I used Gmail, and I would send 100 emails a day, and then I would be listening to great people like Mick told you about, that convinced them to send those 10,000 emails from his own name at that time. So we started using all of those tools to send more emails, and that is also not scaling. So what actually scaling is, with the scale, also the complexity and the details start to matter more. If you have a tiny car, it doesn't matter how greatly the carpet is carved. If you enter a nice car at the show, you want those details to be perfect. So I didn't know that. When in 2015, I decided that we will no longer sell to Poland. We will start selling in the United States. So I made a website in English, started a blog in English, and yeah, this is how much revenue we lost over a year. Yeah, because I was basically trying to do all of that because I thought it was scaling and that I wanted to scale. So don't do that. So my next idea was, let's make a fucking master plan, connect all of the dots, seed all of the seeds, build all of the fucking synergies possible, start 2, 3, 4, 5 new organizations in 1 year, bind them on together to get more out of the dollar. You can guess the outcome. It's not as bad as it sounds, but somewhere in the middle we have opened a sales development agency. We've even hired people from big sales automation global tools as consultants and employees. And we've spent $250,000 on it, and this is what we sold in the next year. Okay, I could live. No. So, what was really the problem? The problem always comes with a magic product market fit that for some reason people, they claim too fast. It's like, it's not high school anymore. You cannot tell you've scored if you didn't. The fact that a girl swiped your Tinder, it's not scoring. Okay? So, I know it was probably improbable. I shouldn't say that politically correct, but what's the problem is that every founder, it's something that Mick also said, every founder thinks that at least within a set of problems, we can do everything. And that was my thought a lot of times. We can do everything. Like big companies, yeah, they will have more users. Small companies, we will onboard them better. A company that's 5,000 times bigger than us as a first customer, let's put all our workforce on one contract because we can do anything. So wherever we start, it's good. So what customers actually want is this. They have a problem where they want to use something. There's context to that. So unless you're really selling Victorinox, you probably should start thinking about the problem that you solve. So, yeah, one of the things that Kamil always told me is that you should sometimes put a number in the presentation because it makes it more professional. So since I was designing it today, it is the number. This number is how much we've probably spent on designing and developing products that we thought were great for the market over the last 6 years. I will not dig more into that. So what actually worked? What worked for us? Because we have more than 70% of revenue from the United States. We're closing on $5 million revenue annually. So some things have worked. And first and foremost are introductions. And it doesn't only matter that you have the introduction. It matters who gives you the introduction. It matters why they give you the introduction. Did they work with you? Did they see you working? Or did they just meet you at the random conference and you gave them your card? it matters who refers you and why. And I will tell a little more about it later, but the first steps are very important. They position you in the market. And if you want to get to the specific place, it's really much easier to be invited. It's not that I've never got on stage uninvited, but it was much more comfortable for Piotr to say, hey, this is Matt, here's a mic, instead of getting thrown out by the security again. So introductions is something that helped us. And we actually entered US market through a tiny partner from Canada that has a tiny open source startup, very specific use cases. There were no other developers in the world that were using it, and it picked up in certain use cases. People started referring each other, introducing us, saying, hey, yeah, these guys from Neoteric did a good job for us. This is why we want to go. And yes, there are places like Clutch. But this is not the way to start. Someone has to actually say, yeah, these guys are great. So how do you get those first guys? What do you do to attract them? Mick said about the aha moment on this beautiful timeline. This is the same thing. This is the aha moment. You want to learn how to sell, go to the marketplace in Marrakesh. They will tell you how to sell. You are going from one stall to another. Every single one has the very same spices. And they are super creative about how to get you interested, how to hook you up for a second. Because they know one thing, if you don't stop, you don't buy. So what I heard in Marrakesh when I was passing by a restaurant, being 100% sure I will not go to a restaurant because someone pulls me to the street, because that's just not what I do traveling all the world. And that one time I did is, hey, Polska, Magda Gessler, masakra. I was like, fuck, I'm going in. I wasn't even hungry. So, give them a taste. And your first sales are not going to be successful. You will sell it, get 10 times too little money for it, because you will suddenly find out that working in English is not just about having a certificate in English. It's about actually speaking different culture, different people, having different expectations. I even had this wonderful chart about how Americans and Europeans are talking about stuff when it's good and bad. So basically, long story short, when my team came to me and said, hey, how's the project going? Oh yeah, it's, they said it's pretty good for a start. It was like, what did you fuck up? They're like, what did they said it was good. Yeah, they're Americans. If it's not awesome, it's fucking terrible. Here is the other way around. Like, so you ask a founder that just made a rocket, and he's like, yeah, so like, we put some things together. It worked a little, but we have a lot of problems. This is not the way to go either. So being cocky, not great. Being too not cocky, neither. Find your way to that. And then the most important thing, if you promise something, over-deliver. Always. You have one name in that market, and you can change the company, but they know that the companies are the tools. The business is the people, and they will know you by your name. And it doesn't matter that you've changed your startup to the enterprise or enterprise to someone else. If you've been a shithead that promised them something and didn't deliver on the promise, you're out. So if you do that, you need one more very important thing, and it's not awful food. But awful food has something to do with luck for me. So luck is something very important in sales, especially in finding first customers. So I was in San Francisco in a hotel in Union Square. I was there for TechCrunch. I assumed everyone else is having a badge. And there was this guy next to me when we were putting the scrambled eggs on. And because, like the one thing in the US, people talk. Like here, you stand in a queue in a bar, and you stand, and you stand there. It's like, oh, hey, you're waiting for a drink? Yeah, what do you do? What are you passionate about? How was your day? And people talk, not assuming they want to sell you something or invite you somewhere you don't want to go or whatever. They just talk out of curiosity. So we've talked. I asked him if he's for the conference. He said yes. So I was like, hey, great, let's share a meal. That's also something I would give you as an advice. Don't eat alone, period. So I invited him to this table. I started talking to him about what he's doing. He said something with artificial intelligence, blah, blah, blah. As it turned out, 2 weeks later, we've closed a $50,000 deal with this guy because he was in the need of software engineering help within the space that we are good at. And it was luck, pure luck. But luck favors ready. If I didn't have all the stuff to back my story up, showing case studies that matter, showing social proof that matters, having the engineering skills that I promised, being able to work under the US culture, I would have not succeeded with that. So yes, luck is important, but it will only be important for you if you're ready for luck. So this is how much revenue comes from the United States for us right now. And the question is, are we scaling? And we're not, because we don't have a product market fit. Because what a product market fit essentially is that there is a community where you have a brand, where your brand stands for some values, where your values are appreciated in the context of problems of your customers. So what marketing is going around the party. Sorry for the man-woman relationship again, but my friend wrote this book that has the most inspiring and true title when it comes to sales that I've had. Haven't read it yet. Sales is a love affair. So a lot of this relates. So marketing would be going around the party and asking, hey, would you like to have a drink with me? Sales would be having a drink and asking a girl, would you like to go out with me sometime? Branding is when a 10 times nicer girl comes in, knocks you on the shoulder, and says, hey, I've heard you're fun. What you're doing tonight? This is what you need to do. This is where you have product market fit. So we don't, and we got back to the drawing table, and I got back to things that I've learned in this very place at MIT Enterprise Forum from the perspective of MIT's approach on entrepreneurship is a concept of a beachhead market. If you want to win a war, even if an opponent seems indestructible, if you concentrate all your forces on one place, even if it's the hardest to get, this is your only chance to win. If you don't have a place on the ground, if you're always from air or from sea, always pushed back, you will never conquer. So that was the D-Day. It was a terrible day for the human history. Lots of people died, but they won the first beach. And guess what? That has changed the course of war. And this is what's ahead of you if you're entering US market. You're not scaling shit. If you were scaling something, you would have operations there that are growing, and you would be in Bali instead of listening to me. At least I would do that if I were you, if I were me. Anyway, if you have the beachhead market, if you have this first place where people know for who you are and what you deliver, where the question, who is the guy from ATS in Poland, is Mick, be it here, be it in Gdańsk, be it among fans of Manchester United in southeastern Poland. He has a brand somewhere. People say ATS, Mick, they have this in their head. This means that he has product market fit. There is a market that says, Mick fits. This is it. So we got back to the table, and we're finding out our markets. We're researching niches, trying to narrow down, peel the onion, as Mick said, going through dozens of our case studies, finding out what's similar to each other, what can we use the next time as a story, how can we learn from it, how can we position ourselves towards customers having similar problems from different angles. And product market fit is not the whole of your product, and it's not the whole of the market. It's this unique composition of what someone needs and what you have to offer. And Mick told you exactly that there are two things that move us emotionally. Either greed for something, I want more, I want faster, I want to have more fun, I want to have better car or whatever, or we are afraid of something. I will fuck up, I will make bad decision, I will not meet my deadlines, etc., etc. Tap on those emotions in the sales process, but focus on that intersection of product and market to find out people that want to eat food and use a knife instead of running with Victorinox and convincing people that basically you can use it to unscrew a screw, but you know, IKEA set with Victorinox, probably not the best thing. And then eating with it, not really the best thing. So actually, why does it even exist? So now, 3 things to remember as I learned from Mick. I didn't know that he moved it up to 8, fortunately, because that would be a long story. Are completely different from whatever I said before. Not that I want to be some kind of Paulo Coelho of business, but if you move back to a bigger picture, some things are starting to look alike, and you're starting to dig deeper into why things happen. And you move to a distance when you are starting to see that this is not about the wrong script. This is not about the wrong email list. This is about everything. So 3 things that if I understood in the very beginning and listened more to Mick and less to my ideas, that would really help me, would be fast to learn the language and the culture. The US is about the relations. You build relations by sharing some memories together. If you don't have them, you want to have memories about something similar, right? Then you can share, feel together emotionally, build trust. That's the thing about the culture. So if you care, if you speak about any topic, and I don't mean if you can speak perfectly, but if you care, if we hold a conversation in English or in Polish, and you're responsible for your startup or your venture to enter the US market, take vacation, go to English school, and stay there as long as you need until you don't care. Because if you cannot communicate comfortably, and it doesn't mean you need perfect English, it doesn't mean you need great accent, it doesn't mean you need perfect wording, it means that you can hold a conversation on any topic. Some people can't do it in their primary language. It's okay. But if you cannot do it in English, find another job. Second, this is a random guy I met in New York last time, and we just had a great time together. So I thought it was a nice picture to put to this thought. Value relationships over dollars. There is something named unit economics, right? So you can, if you're running a grocery store, you can measure yourself by how much revenue do you have per square meter, or how much revenue do you have per 1 kilo of sold goods, and you will optimize yourself differently based on how do you calculate this unit economics. And I would have made, if I wasn't kind of pray and spray doing and wasn't investing in every relationship a little too much, I probably wouldn't have found it out. But in a lot of cases, the smallest deals bring us the best revenues, because we build a strong relation of trust, of good experience of working together on a problem, of delivering to each other, of working together as one team, and they change the jobs. And then suddenly a guy that was a co-founder of a startup that never had any chances, but they really wanted to build it, and he built it for them, and they failed miserably. Suddenly he's a head of engineering at a great, fast-growing startup from another city. And he wants 10 or 20 of your engineers to come in because he trusts you. Because you value the person, the way they feel about you, working with you, being with you, more than $1. And 3, just whatever your time horizon is, just multiply it by 3, and then you can thank me later. I'm Mateusz Kurleto. I usually help startups and enterprises build competitive advantage, innovating with artificial intelligence and software development. I'm very keen on growing a startup ecosystem. So if you have any questions that could help you move from wherever you are to wherever you feel you should be, and there's a place for my experience in it, please.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions?
Any questions?
Michał Korba, no questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you very much. So I'm very interested. What's the product market fit for Dajcie? And as you scale, how do you train your sales development representatives sell it?
Okay, so the moment I will find a product market fit as Dajcie, I will tell about it and brag about it everywhere. Right now, I know that I can build great digital products, and I know how to use artificial intelligence to achieve business goals. And I have no idea who repeatedly needs it much enough to care to know that I can solve those problems. So until I find that out, I don't know what my market is. I'm targeting New York mostly because this is where we have the most business. And I'm starting to exploring positioning myself as an industry-focused agency rather than technologically focused agency. That's a new thing that we're trying for a year. I don't know if it works. This is the question mark on my beautiful drawing.
Anyone else? Any questions? I'm going to you. Or maybe not.
Hi, Matt. Which restaurant in Gdańsk is your favorite one?
Bravo!
Can I say the name?
Of course.
So my favorite place is a steakhouse. The guy first imported Wagyu beef from Japan, the same brand that is made in Kobe. He started producing the meat, breeding the cows in very beautiful Nature 2000 place in Kashubia region, improving the way he produced meat. And only after a few years of delivering it to the best restaurants, he decided that the meat is perfect, and he opened his own restaurant. The place is called Delmonico Cat Steakhouse.
And now he's buying his meat from Lidl.
I don't have any shares in that company. I'm just a happy customer.
Anyone else?
And they have a brand with me.
Mick, I'm going to you. Give us a second. Are you really Manchester United fan? You look like a Man City.
Unfortunately, yes.
No, dude, seriously, you do all of Beckham.
I have a question, because one thing you said before is like, do you think that people can get over the fear of meeting new people? Like, it's scary to go into a restaurant in the US and suddenly start talking. Do you think that it's something that you have to be born with, or can people learn it and get over it? And if so, how?
Look, so it's a tough question. I wouldn't expect anything else from you, but I think much of that can be taught. It's not about being introvert or extrovert. In fact, if you started treating LinkedIn as a coffee break at the conference, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to LinkedIn and people on it. Because this is how networking works. I'm often one-man show in a different place in the world, a conference I don't know anyone at, and I have zero contacts because I just go and explore. So my path is I walk around and I listen what people are talking about, kind of scrolling the LinkedIn feed. And then I listen to someone talking about artificial intelligence, so I'm listening more. Oh no, I don't know nothing about it. And they are talking about AI in sales. Okay, the circle is quite open, I will stand and listen. And then I started commenting something, saying yes, no. And finally, they asked a question. I had something valuable to add on. So I picked like, oh yeah, this is like the churn problem we solved for this telecom. And we started talking. And this is how you start conversation. And then they say, okay, I want to get back to my friends. But let's get connected. Let's have this Zoom call he offers you because he sees value in you. Okay?
That's brilliant what you just said. I remember when you bought me a kebab in Rzeszów. That's how our love started. So thank you very much.
There are no free meals.
Yeah, exactly. I love you, mate. But dude, I found your iPhone in InfoShare, so we kind of like even. More or less. Anyone else? I have a question.
Yes.
It's going to be tough, and it's going to comment it afterwards. What was the worst pickup line, like sales pickup line that you've ever made? The worst one.
Sales.
I'm not asking about your private life. I know that you're a happy man.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions.
I don't really know, but probably, all of those hundreds of automated messages sent saying, hey, I see you as an industry expert, why don't we connect? It's like, you're cool, I'm sad, let's get in touch. Like, who the fuck cares? So that's probably it. I'm really I'm ashamed when I looked at my outbox from years ago.
it's still better than I like received. Nice shoes. Wanna fuck? That's my second question. I'm not going to ask you for the fuck.
I have
I'm going
nice
to
shoes.
can I have a photo of you on the stage?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
You?
Always. Sorry, guys. It's a pleasure. It's a total pleasure.
Okay, in the meantime, I'm gonna give the microphone for the guy in the last row.
By the way, if you scan this is my LinkedIn page, so you can follow me or connect if you want.
Hello. How did you deal with the time difference between here and the US?
So actually, that's something I don't have any problem with, on contrary to my wife, because I just wake up when they start working, which is usually around 2 p.m. Polish time. So for me, it's not a problem. In general, since I started a company in 2005, when I was only working with freelancers at that time, but ever since, at my companies, you could always choose freely where you work from, when you work, what hours, what days, whenever, wherever, 10 years before the pandemics. And for that, I don't believe that balance is about 8 hours here, 8 hours there. I think that the balance is about I can start up with my emails in the morning, then walk my kid to the school, then go for an exercise, for a few calls at the office, and blend it more than try to balance it onto other scales. So with that approach, people are just setting up the meetings in overlap times and working individually without those. So for some, it's having a call at 9 p.m., but for some, it's not, because they just don't want to do that.
Okay, so it's just using flexi time. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt, once again.
Thank you.
Okay, very nice speech. And right now there's a time for our last presentation from my advisor and a friend who came here from Israel, especially for Aula Polska. So let's welcome him with a really warm applause, Ariel Finkelstein.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first thing, thank you very much, Piotr, for having me here. It's a real pleasure after so long. We spoke so many times in Aula. Before I start, how many founders are here in the room? Can you raise up your hands? Great. How many of you are bootstrappers? Great. How many are venture-backed or want to be venture-backed? Great. And how many of you are planning to sell outside of Poland, internationally? Okay, great. So this is really helpful for me. Great. Okay, so I'll start. Yep. Great. So as I said, my name is Ariel Finkelstein. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm going to talk today about specific stuff. And hopefully afterwards we'll go much more into depth into sales itself. But we have a very big problem here in Poland. And I want to touch that today. We have a great ecosystem here of founders, very smart people. We have a lot of passion here to build stuff. We don't have the infrastructure. And I'm going to talk about it today. And hopefully we'll be building that together. But that's something which is very, very much missing. This is a presentation that is, I cut several stuff from a presentation I give on sales learning curve. In a second, I'll talk about it. But I want to talk specifically about Poland. There's a lot of knowledge out there that you can go and read and see stuff and anything you want to see about SaaS, your sales, whatever you want. But the real problem is at the end of the day, as founders, who fucking cares about the sales guys in America? I need to know how to sell from here. I need to know what are the challenges and how to overcome them. And that's exactly the things I want to touch about today, and I'm going to talk about them. The thing is, I'm going to talk about early stage, and as you can see here, because majority of the guys are still in early stage startups. And the thing that you see here, sales learning curve, is one of the main things that is the most important things, okay? I start selling before I start startups, okay? That's the first thing I do. even before I have anything in the startup itself. And in startups, it's very, very simple. We have a problem that we think we can solve in the world. We have an assumption that we know how to solve it, and we want as fast as possible to go and find if that assumption is working, yes or no. And in parallel, we go in two things, which is sales learning curve and product market fit. But the sales learning curve is always before and always continues, by the way, and we'll talk about it. But before I dive into it, I'll tell you a little bit regarding myself so you get to know me. As Piotr said, I'm Israeli. I'm a serial entrepreneur, built quite a lot of companies. I started to sell cereal after the 10th company I built. And I love building early stage startups. In Israel, I started in the beginning of 2000 to build startups. And at that point of time, we were very, very much similar to what you guys have here in Poland today. We had a lot of technical guys that built companies, didn't know shit in business, and we sold our companies very, very early stage to the Americans because we didn't know how to sell and how to build them. When I started my first startup in SaaS, nobody knew anything and nobody really helped each other, and we didn't have a good industry. And we had to build it from beginning, and that's very, very similar to what we have here. About 15 years ago, I started to invest. I don't like investing, by the way. Every schmuck can throw money on other people. I like building. So I built a method that was something that I really liked. I invest very, very early stages in companies and build it with very strong founders. I have today a group of my friends. We're over 50 people from all around the globe, from Australia, US, Canada, Israel, Europe. And all of us are serial entrepreneurs that build companies and are hands-on. And we come in and help companies and build them together with very, very strong founders. We have two arms of investments. One is into venture-backed companies and one is into bootstrap companies. After I sold two of my bootstrap companies about 6 years ago, I decided to come into Poland in order to see CE because there is a lot of stuff here. But whenever you open up a new go-to-market, this is also related to sales, you have to come humble. You have to understand that you don't know the culture, you don't understand it. That's exactly why I came here, to learn about the culture here. And I met with majority of the VCs here. Majority of them didn't know shit. Very, very early stage, like we didn't know shit, by the way, in the beginning. I joined forces together with Innovo founders. I really liked them as people, and also they were very, very smart and willing to learn. And I joined in Innovo too. Today, I'm a venture partner there. We invest together with them. And I got lucky to join forces with quite a lot of founders here that are today very good friends of mine, like Piotr, and really helping building those kind of companies. So just naming Zawi, I invested in 2020, and Maciek and Maya building the company together with them, Upatienta, Story Doctor, we build More Growth Ventures, quite a lot of different companies, doesn't matter what, but a lot of those guys, each and every one of them had different experiences and different problems, and building that together with them was a lot of fun and is a lot of fun. And through that, I got to know a lot of the different issues here, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Before I dive into it, I want to talk a little bit regarding go-to-market because majority of the people in the world just don't know what it is and don't understand the differences. So Poland is very strong in B2C, in lower end SMB. That means that if I need any employee, okay, for these kind of things, for B2C sales, which is mainly serve, and same thing with the SMB, no problem to find the guys here. The minute I go upstream, I get into a shitty situation. We don't have those guys here. Okay, I don't have account executives, I don't have customer success guys that know how to sell. And again, there's maybe here and there guys, but not enough for an ecosystem to thrive. Not enough for a lot of companies to build here, and that's what we want to have here. In 5-10 years here, we're gonna have it. When I started here, nobody believed that companies will invest here, okay? All the other VCs. Today, it's very easy to see that a lot of those VCs are investing together with us and very interested in what's going on here. So, what's the difference between these go-to-markets? Enterprise, mid-level, and SMB, and that's what I'm going to focus about today, which is touch sales, okay? When I told you that Bank of America, TNT, all kinds of large corporates are my customers in 2000, you knew that I was doing enterprise sales. Today, if I tell you that these guys are my customers, you don't know shit. They could have come and bought for $99 automatically without even talking to me, and that means that I'm not doing enterprise sales. That's a nice logo, but that's not enterprise sales. There's only two things that I really care about. Sales lifecycle and average deals, okay? That's it. That means that when I go and do these kind of sales, we start from SMBs, okay? SMB is very, very much transactional. These are very, very quick deals. We talk about hundreds of dollars, okay, in MRR, and that's it. Not more than that. And we need to be able to close them transactionally. One phone call, whatever it is, closing them, not too much bullshit in between, and many, many times we even do it through sales of the customer success. But then we go upstream into mid-level. Mid-level is before I go into the bullshit of an enterprise. Usually it's up to $50,000 ARR, okay? And below the $50,000 ARR, I'm usually in a situation that I don't have to get into procurement, legal, and all that different bullshit. On top of that, usually into enterprise, real enterprise, that starts at $80,000 to $100,000 ARR, and then we go through everything. Those kind of guys we don't have here. Okay, very, very hard to find people that can do it, and it's very similar to what we had in Israel. So you have two different segments. In a second I'll talk about it, but I'll say it now. One is you have the local guy that is selling to enterprises here. That is almost impossible to convert him into an international guy. Same story. Second segment we have is the SMB guys. Converting them into mid-level is almost impossible also, okay? The transactional guys know how to do transactional sales. Getting them into a more sophisticated sale is not that easy, okay? And sophisticated sale is not understanding my product, it's understanding my customer and his business. Just to give you one example on that. So a sales guy in one of my companies talks to a customer today, and today is very, very harsh times. And that customer is an e-commerce CEO of an e-commerce site. They're selling about $70 or $80 million in Q4, just before all the sales. And the sales guy is talking to the CEO and doesn't fucking understand that this guy doesn't have time. The guy said, if you're solving my problem, I want to buy right now. If you're not, no, don't waste my time. The kind of person you want to have in these kind of services is not the transactional person, and we don't have a lot of the guys that are not transactional. That's a very, very big issue today. And by the way, in Israel, we had the same thing. And one of the things that we did, we started to teach people. So I went all around with all the other CEOs that were selling like that, and we built an academy just for ourselves. We took guys, and we had enough guys to teach them, and we taught them how to sell those kind of things, and we brought them into our companies. Here, currently, we just don't have enough, and hopefully, I'm starting here to talk about it, but that we will build that kind of ecosystem because I believe we have to have it, and we can have it here, and we should have it. Okay, so what is a sales learning curve in a sense of understanding? In each and every one of these different go-to-markets, we start building our sales. There's a lot of different questions that we want to start answering for, okay, when we start, and in a second I'll explain it. But at the end of the day, a majority of the founders, early stage, the first-time founders, don't understand that this is strategic. Majority of them are focused on product market fit. We're product guys, we want to go, we want to understand it, and they don't understand how strategic is the sales. When we are doing the sales learning curve, the learning is the most important part. We have to learn very, very quickly, and we have to iterate all the time very, very quickly and discover. I'll give you a real example. So at Zawi, when we started to sell, and it was in the first month, everything was Polish. Entire 100% of our sales was Polish, and I needed to go straight away internationally because strategically we didn't give a shit about what's going on in the sales here. Getting them out of here was very much important to understand what's the persona we're going to sell into, and in the beginning you don't really know, okay? So a lot of the times you start selecting and understanding. Usually, again, I don't like to sell enterprise sales from day one. Just to understand, the higher you go in these kind of sales, the more time it takes you to learn. Enterprise sales, it takes you 6 months and above, and it's just ruining companies in day one. Only if I have to. There is a segment that you have to sell enterprise, but it's a very small segment. Usually I like to start from bottom to top and sell much faster. My learning curve is much faster, and I can change the stuff. And of course, from that I can sell much better to the enterprise. And I just got now, I open up our class. I really believe in giving back to the industry. I'm one of the founders of Microsoft Accelerator and Intel Ignite. And in Intel Ignite Munich, we just opened up our fourth class. And all of them are enterprise companies, okay? And in their case, you have to fight to get them down into the mid-level. But I can promise you, majority of the cases, you can find it. And we're able to find several of the companies to change it. And that really changes for the venture companies here, changes your ability also to raise your next round. Because if I take from beginning till the end, and I want to do between 12 to 18 months to raise my next round, I have to show results. And results, and by the way, are not MRR or ARR. They are getting to results of understanding my go-to-market. If I do enterprise, my ability to learn with that time frame is very, very limited and very, very hard. So the founders usually don't understand how strategic it is. So when I go, and that's exactly what we did at Zowie, we already had a lot of the data from our current Polish customers. And by the way, selling it to Polish market is not a bad thing, but usually you stay too long. And in this case, we understood exactly what we wanted to do. Our customers were customers that we wanted to go in the States, because we wanted to get our next round from there. We knew exactly what kind of customers we were looking for. We were not looking for SMBs, we were looking for mid-level. We knew exactly the persona that we wanted to run because we had the data. And usually the easiest one, that's majority of the startups start to sell from that, from their own connection. We had, of course, within our group a lot of connections, but that is not something which is sustainable and repeatable. But you start from it because it really helps you afterwards the minute you penetrate to go into it. And one of the most important things is to iterate fast. So we go on the phones, and in the first month, nobody fucking believes us. Maciek's go on the phone, he's the CEO, he's the COO of the company, and he talks to them. And everyone doesn't believe us. It's a chatbot, and all the other players, it takes between 3 to 6 months to implement a chatbot, and maybe you'll get to 5% conversion. And in our case, we came and said, listen, implement us. In one day, you get to 30% conversion without doing anything else. And it was, everyone said, huh? Can't be. You're fucking liars, okay? And you're from Poland, of course, so we won't believe you because we're snobbish Americans and we don't believe anyone else from outside. And we heard it once, we heard it twice. Everything we record, by the way, everyone in the company has to listen to that, okay? From the developer to anyone else. And then straight away we understood that we have something good in our hands on one hand side, but we're not selling it correctly. Okay, and that's the real fun of building startups. The minute you get that smack, Ariel, you're stupid. What assumption you had is bullshit. That's what you're looking for. But the thing is, the next iteration is the most important thing. And majority of the founders don't do that. Majority of these cases, you don't run fast enough. We change our pitch very, very quickly into a pitch that, hey, we're going to give you this for free for 7 days. Within the first 7 days, you're going to get to 30% minimum on the first day, and you're going to get to 60% by the end of the 7th day. If we get there, and then in 7 days, do you have the budget, okay? And are you willing to commit to pay? And if yes, we sell it to you. By the way, if you're not, fuck you, come back to us afterwards. And that's exactly what we did, and we started to sell very, very quickly. Second thing was that we were very much focused on starting to scale. When do I scale? How do I scale? Like, that's a very, very hard thing. I don't have a lot of money. I didn't raise a lot of money. I have enough money in order to sustain myself. The bloody American guy that maybe I'll take is going to cost me too much. And when do I take guys? The minute I start answering for my initial go-to-market, that's when you take them. And strategically, again, we were able to do these assumptions from beginning. Maya was in charge of getting us the leads from marketing, from SDR. She was doing all those things. And she was able to prove to us exactly how much each SDR is bringing us. And when we look at these things, by the way, everything is numbers, only numbers. I don't talk about any feelings or nothing. We have only numbers. When we discuss things, it's with numbers. A sales guy, SDR guy from our team was able to create, I don't want to say exactly the numbers, but over $100,000 ARR, new ARR every month. Very simple. By the end of the quarter, we had our numbers. We had too many leads for the amount of salespeople that we had. And ARR, by the way we count it, is only after the first sales call in this mid-level kind of deals. So the biggest problem is usually people don't understand how strategic it is, and then they give it to someone else to do it for them. You're not allowed to do it in all my companies. In the first 6 months, the founders are doing these things. It's a lot of innovation. Most of the people in the world live within a box. That's it. Very simple. They like the simple life. We as founders, we live out of the box. We create boxes. And when you go and open up a new go-to-market, and we do it, by the way, several times in the life of a company, in a second I'll talk about it, you have to be involved. In majority of my companies, between $0 to $1 million, we're in discovery phase. We're looking at the different go-to-markets. We're even open to do different go-to-markets. I'm very much against, by the way, doing 2 different go-to-markets at the same point of time, only if I really, really have to, okay? But in majority of the cases, 99% of the cases, I discover within the first $1 million where I need to go. Between $1 million to $10 million, I'm fucking laser focused on the one that I found, and I'm running with that as fast as possible to the 10. In parallel, as a founder, I'm starting to discover between the 5 to 10 million, I'm starting to work on discovery of the next thing. Usually, I grow from SMB into mid-level or from mid-level into enterprise, but that next segment is the segment that's going to take me from 10 to 100. Majority of the companies get stuck between the 10 to 100, and that's the worst companies for us as VCs, okay, or for as investors, and as founders, because then you get into the disalignment between founders and VCs, okay? Here you don't have that disalignment in a lot of the VCs because majority of the ones are smaller and are government-backed, so they don't really care, but that's going to change here very, very quickly. And then you'll see the disalignment, okay? Okay, so what do we build? And that's something which is very important. Every company in the world has these 3 pillars. Customer acquisition costs on one hand side, lifetime value on the other side. In the middle, I have a go-to-market that I have to start answering for. And you have a gazillion different questions that I want to start answering for, and I have to answer all the questions there. And I'm not sure in the beginning what market I should be selling to. If I'm in the US, UK, whatever it is, how large the companies am I going after, what is my sales life cycle, what is the average deal, blah, blah, blah. I write to myself all those different questions, and I start answering them. By the way, you don't have to take pictures. I'll share it with you, the presentation. You can enjoy from it, okay? But the main thing is that from ability to build it, this is exactly the number thing. You have to write down everything on the numbers. So we start from the beginning, okay? Lead generation. I can do lead generation for many, many different segments, okay? SEO, SEM, email marketing, approaches, whatever you want, blah, 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 events, whatever you want, you do those things and you validate them. But you have to validate them correctly because afterwards you have bullshit discussions internally in the company. So I'll give you an example for one of my companies. This is a company also in the HR world. We started to go into sales. In the beginning, we didn't know who we were going to sell to, okay? So we started from mid-level, and we did also SMB. And we said the segments also there, we went only to American companies, but we didn't know if we were going to be able to talk to the CEO, founder, CTO founder, to a team leader, to HR manager, to recruiter, whatever. We were able to see very, very quickly in that company that our conversion was much, much better into the founders in the SMB segment. And in the mid-level guys into the team leaders, which in the States worked much, much better for us. And that will enable us very much quickly to focus on these guys to penetrate into them. The discovery of this machinery is the most important things as startups, okay? Just to understand, when we say about a machine that works, this is this. That means that when afterwards I go into the B round usually and C round in my companies, I can show you exactly, you put $40 million, I know exactly what's going to come out on the other side, okay? And that's the beauty of it. So that means that when I get to an A round and a CEO talks to me in an A round, the only thing he talks to me about is numbers, okay? Numbers on his go-to-market and the ability to show them. And that's exactly, by the way, what we did at Zowie, and we had that specific stuff. So the sales themselves, in the beginning, as I said, this is innovation. You have to do it by yourselves. And the biggest problem is that data is not going from one to another, okay? And that's a very, very big issue. That means that everyone in the company needs to understand. Our product changes, okay? When we launch ourselves into this kind of sales into the US, we discover very quickly that what we thought is the value is not what they understand as value. Okay, what we thought is the ROI is not what they thought is the ROI. And one of the biggest challenges going from here and selling into the US is that when I do it, a lot of the founders here are afraid from the English, afraid from the American, afraid of many, many different things. And I love founder sales in the beginning, by the way, which is the best thing because you learn very, very quickly. We afterwards, of course, need to bring sales guys in, but you should not be afraid. You should be very much into selling what you believe in. And again, I'll touch it afterwards. There was a question here about can you sell? Can you learn to sell? Majority of the founders have been working with hundreds of thousands and much more founders. I can tell at the end of the day, there's a very small segment of founders that cannot sell. Okay? Majority of them at any point of time can sell and can do the stuff. Some better, some worse. But at the end of the day, a good founder is the best innovator into the process, and he's the guy who can change it. And even the guys that can't sell, and I had several of my companies that wasn't able to sell, with a good person that was selling, and they were doing that jointly, it worked very, very well. I'm going to jump in. I don't have enough time to go over all the presentations, so I want to touch also specific stuff for him. Okay, when we do the sales learning event, when you guys start to sell, majority of the guys are focusing on the wrong things. I have a company in Intel Ignite that we, as I said before, they were focused on one thing and one thing only for the next round, to get to $1 million in ARR. That's not a KPI, especially in the beginning. There's only one word that is important. That's the learning. Okay, the learning is the most important thing. If I go on a call and don't come out of it in sales, I don't freaking care in the beginning. The only thing I care about is did I learn or not? And I'll give you a good example of it. Okay, so on one of the first calls that Maciek had, and that was very funny to see, he was on the phone. He knew that the customer is not going to buy. And by the way, I'm sure all of you guys, if you did sales, you had that kind of experience, okay? You talk to someone, he's on the line, you see him, you see this schmuck is not going to buy from you. And you know what you usually do? You continue. You talk and blah, 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 and maybe you'll sell, maybe you're not. That's the wrong thing to do. Whenever I had that, I stop and I say, dude, I'm not going to sell to you. Let's stop here. I'm a founder. I'm talking to you. Please help me. What did I do wrong? Where am I wrong? Help me. 100% of the cases they do. And they answer you the right question on how they think about it, okay? And you learn from it. So the worst thing to come out of the call is not that you didn't sell, but the worst thing is that you didn't learn. And that's, again, I'm talking about early stage when you build these kind of segments. That's the quickest way to understand what is your right pitch, what is the right way to sell. Majority of us don't have good messaging and positioning. In Zawi, we had a very bad one in the beginning because we didn't know. That's one of the things that we had to build in the first month that we did it. Second thing is the majority of us, and I've seen it too many times here in Poland and in CE right now, don't fucking know anything about numbers, especially in the beginning. We don't have a CFO, we don't have anyone from accounting, and the person that is in charge usually is either the CTO, CEO, whatever it is. And when I see MRR from POCs, that really pisses me off, okay? The difference between bookings, revenues, ARR, MRR, cash in the bank, all the different stuff, you have to know this stuff, okay? At the end of the day, when I do MRR or ARR, that means it's really recurrent. No bullshit in between. If I didn't sell to you and you can go up and you have an opt-out, that's still not MRR, okay? Be very clear with your numbers. Don't lie to yourselves first, okay? And the ability to have the right numbers in front of you is very crucial. Just to understand one thing, in order for us to learn fast and change things fast, we have to have everything in place. And in a second, I'll talk about then we need to have the right processes, and we need to know what is an MQL, what's an SQL, what's a sales call, all of our funnel. Very, very clear definitions, because otherwise our sales guys don't know what to put within the CRM, and we have to be very clear with them to put in the CRM. But then we analyze it, and we need to be able to analyze it correctly. Majority of the guys don't do that. Second thing on what we're talking about here, when we go into it, a lot of the people don't know how to build these kind of companies. That means that my board is pissed off. Why don't I sold this month $5,000 MRR, and next month I'm only at $5,500. That's not the goal. The goal is to learn. The minute I learned, that's when I start to build myself. It's not scale, by the way. A lot of guys talking about scale at that point. Scale is much, much later in the company. But I start building my go-to-market. I'll jump from here, I'm sorry. So I spoke about in the learning. I want to just move ahead. As I said, like the main thing is go out, start selling. You have your assumptions. Go check them out, but change quickly. Majority of you guys don't change quickly enough. And by the way, our persona that we sell into changes. Our ability to maneuver ourselves correctly and the way we sell changes. Just to give you an example, the first speaker here spoke about 2023. I forgot his name, I'm sorry. It's very much correct that now in Q4, the majority of my work right now is planning for 2023. It's a freaking hard year to do it because nobody knows what's going to happen next year. This year has been very hard to maneuver within. But a lot of industries that has already suffered from that. If we're talking about e-commerce, if we're talking about HR, we're talking a lot of different industries that are harmed. And at the end of the day, if I move in inertia and I have already $5 million in ARR and I'm selling, but I stay the same way, I'm going to lose the game. Our markets are shifting all the time. I need to shift stuff. I have a company in my portfolio, it's $1 billion company, and we're selling it to very harsh markets, okay? By the way, all of you, if you're doing B2B sales, you're in harsh markets at the end of the day. Sales life cycles are much longer. Our average deals are going lower. Our ability to sell in a sense in the same stuff, it's hard. And you have to take it into consideration all your different things for planning for next year. But in this specific case, our market is hard. And we were able to see that already in mid-year, that it's going to be that way. And we changed both our go-to-market. We changed also our sellings. We did a lot of different things that we had to change. What I'm trying to explain, this is something that is all the time in a company. Majority of the founders don't go upstream and look at it all the time. That's the strong guys know how to do it and do it all the time. I want to talk specifically on here. So I spoke about this on the Polish sales guide that we have today. This has to change. We have to be able to start building it. By the way, one of the strongest things that we have here is our ability to fight against our competition. We can do things much, much more cheaper than our American competition, but when we go upstream, it starts costing us a lot. Today, we start taking all the American guys. The minute I need an account executive, I go out of here. I need a customer success guy that knows how to sell. I need to get out of here. All that is a very, very big issue for us, and we pay a very, very big price for it. Second thing, all these guys that we do have here are the SMB guys that they can do transactional, but when they go on the phone, they don't really understand the customer. Maybe I'll explain, I'm not sure all of you understand it. When we go into a discussion with a customer, we are able to take him hand by hand and really understand his business. A transactional guy doesn't fucking give a shit about his business. All he wants is to sell his product to this guy. Hey, I have this TV at my home. Hey, the same TV. You know these kind of sales guys? That's what we have here today, majority of our guys. The kind of guy that we need is the sophisticated guy. When we do enterprise sales, by the way, we really understand the customer. Not in the sense of understanding only his business, okay? But understand the person that I'm selling into. My champion, I know exactly what is his goals for 2023. I know exactly what is his compensation for 2023. I know exactly all the politics internally, and I come back to meeting him face to face because I need to do that in enterprise. That's not something that we have here today and the ability to do it, and that's one of the challenges that we have. Majority of us, I don't care about enterprise, by the way. Here we need to have a mid-level tier, and that's what we need to start building. And if we had that, by the way, we would have done a lot in very, very good companies. Another thing that I see it a lot, first thing in founders, they're harming themselves. We are too humble. A Polish founder talks from down here to the American customer. Same thing, by the way, he talks from down here to the American VC. Very, very bad. A lot of times that we have companies here, and I've seen companies that are doing much better than an American company. He's going to the VCs and talking to him, and he's from down here. And that's the kind of language. We're using the wrong words also. You should not be ashamed about yourselves in any situation, and we have good stuff going out of here. And when I talk to a customer from the US, I'm very much proud of what I'm doing. And I'm not afraid, by the way, to say that I'm Israeli and I'm selling to Arab countries, and I'm not afraid to sell to the US. Same thing, I'm not afraid, as a Polish founder, to go and sell to the American guys. And I don't give a shit. I have the good solution that solves your problem. If it doesn't solve your problem, don't buy from me. But this is a good solution. Another thing is that we don't see enough chutzpah. I don't know if you know the term from Israeli, but that's the first thing I do with my companies. I have them injected with chutzpah. A lot of times, the first thing every founder that I worked with was if a customer told him no, he took the no as no. Israeli takes as a no as a yes. Okay, let's go. Let's continue. We have that chutzpah. We run afterwards. We don't give a shit, and that's exactly what you guys need to do. Because at the end of the day, too much passiveness, you pay the price for. We don't have time for BS. Okay, people that start bullshitting us, that's the worst thing that we can have. Someone spoke about the English here. English is important. I have in my companies everything in English. By the way, I prefer when we do international companies, I do a flip and I only invest in American companies. I don't like the kind of companies we have here in the sense of the Polish companies, the entities. It's very, very hard for international companies to do it. Again, this is not in 100% of the cases, but if I take a venture-backed company to the US, it's an American company, okay? And the thing is, English is crucial. Every founder has to know to talk English, and as the person here said, you don't need to be 100% in it. But you do need to feel comfortable with what you're saying, and the other side needs to understand you. And at the end of the day, I had many Israeli guys that were selling from Israel, that their English was really poor, but okay enough to sell, and they were selling in tens of millions in dollars, okay? No problem. You should not be afraid, and a lot of the founders here are too afraid of it. Forget about being afraid, work about it in the English, and go sell. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about specific mistakes that I'm seeing here. Polish customers. Should I have Polish customers? Yes or no? Okay, I start everything. I wanted to sell internationally. So Polish customers is good for the beginning, but you need to think strategically. Where are you going afterwards? If I start here, how do I get internationally? So the first thing that I'm looking at, I want to have customers that can work with me, and I can iterate my product together with them quickly, and they are very relevant for the segment I'm going outside. By the way, if you sold here in Poland, doesn't mean shit that you're going to be able to sell in the States. Here, a lot of the companies don't know shit about other solutions. We don't have a lot of competition, okay, from the US. When I go to the US, suddenly I have all my competition in front of me, okay? So, but that's not something that diminishes selling here. You can sell here. What really worked for us in several of my companies here was we sold into international brands here. Okay, so I had an international name. So when I spoke with the American guy, I told him, listen, I'm selling to L'Oreal. He didn't know what L'Oreal was, which one it was the Polish guys, okay? And that really worked well. Second thing, selling here into an enterprise account that has thousands of employees and is a good enough brand can be also good. That helped us in one of my companies that we were selling into an enterprise abroad, okay? It was an Israeli account. And they wanted to know that we can service them and we have the ability to service with tens of thousands of employees. And we said, hey, go talk to this guy. He has, I think it was 5,000 employees and everything, and should be enough for you. And really helped, by the way. Well, they needed also other stuff, by the way, but that was very, very helpful. So what I'm trying to say, local stuff is okay. Majority of the guys stay here too long. That's the problem. Don't go out fast enough. So don't waste too much time here. If you're an international company, go out very, very quickly and do your stuff. Next thing is POCs. Majority of the companies are doing bullshit in POCs. POCs is something we want to get rid of. We do them just because we have to do them on day one, okay? We should not be doing POCs if we don't have to do them, okay? So whenever we open up a new market, I go to the States, I go to Europe, or whatever it is, whenever I open up a new segment, I go from banking into telco, whatever it is, these guys want to check it out. What I do instead of POCs, whatever I can do, I do opt-out. Does anyone not know what opt-out is? Okay, so an opt-out deals usually that I do, I give a month free, a month that you can go out whenever you want, but you're obliged for another 11 months if you're not opting out with this, the first month. The thing is, that works very, very well in specific segment, not always in all the segments. You have to get into the situation that you get out of POCs very, very quickly. That's, again, you pay a very, very big price for the venture-backed companies, by the way. You get screwed by these POCs. Okay, a lot of the time I close the POC. Then afterwards, I close it incorrectly because there's no definition of time, how much time until you deploy it, how much time till you buy from me the next buy, and do you have the budget for that? All the different things, there's nothing a continuation. That's why I love the opt-out. Everything is set from beginning. Everyone knows exactly the stuff. I don't need to sell again and again. One thing that is very important, gross margin, okay? Majority of you guys, I don't know how much you know what's going on in the world. Here in Europe, we're still in la la land. A lot of companies don't understand how bad the situation is. We still don't have the amount of firing that we had in the States and in Israel and everything. But the gross margin became the most important thing today in companies. Okay, so in 2021, it was growth, 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 and I don't care how much you're losing. Now it's how much you can create in a low amount. And this is something that all of you guys have. You have that ability. Our gross margin is usually much lower than our competition. You need to be smart about that. But that means, and that's why this is so important that we have a community here that thrives and grows. If we had it, and we had these kind of sales guys, account executive, and all the rest, we'd be able to create here so much value before we go outside and have sales guys from the States. And that gross margin is the main thing for venture-backed companies, by the way, that the thing that you want to show in the next round. For an American guy to create in the beginning, everything is very much expensive, okay? My sales guys cost a lot. All of my operation costs a lot. You guys have the luxury to go to an American VC afterwards and show that your gross margins are much, much better, okay? And you need to focus on that. I'm going to jump. I'm sorry. I see people here already very, very tired. So I'm going to jump to one last thing. Okay, two things. One is the funnel. Majority of the founders in the beginning don't have a good funnel. Now, one of the biggest mistakes is you think the funnel is the same funnel. Every company has a different funnel. And the definition of the stages, you need to define it, and you're going to change them several times within this process, okay? And just to give you an example, when I want to move from step to step in the funnel, there has to be rules how you can move from that step to the other step. The biggest mistake is a step from sales into customer success. The minute I move from sales into customer success, and it's always customer success is divided into two stages. One is onboarding of the customer, and then it's an ongoing. But there is a definition to move from sales into customer success, and there's a very clear definition, how do I move from onboarding to ongoing? But that has to be built by you guys. And a sales guy in my companies that doesn't give the information, he can't move into the customer success. I'll give you a good example. One of my companies, we do land and expand. We land in companies in $35,000 ARR. And usually within 4 months, we get to $80,000 ARR, okay? But the sales guy, when he closes at $35,000 ARR, he has to have in his CRM exactly, is this customer a potential enterprise, okay? Or he cannot grow, first thing. So if I don't have that, you can't move to customer success. Second thing, you can grow to 80, 100, 100. You have to show exactly what is the potential, and you have to show what needs to be done in order to get there. Without all these different things, you can't move ahead. You need to define these things. If you haven't done that, you're going to lose the game. I'm going to jump here. Same thing. Okay. Funnels, when we look at them, and majority of the guys don't know how to look at numbers, okay? We look at 3 things in our funnels which are very crucial. Time, conversion from step to step, okay? And money sign, okay? These are very, very crucial stuff. So I'll give you a good example. In one of my companies, we had a problem of movement from SQL into sales, call sales. And we saw this conversion went down there. And we were able to see that straight away because we saw that in the time frame, the minute we didn't have the conversion, also it took us much longer to start closing deals. And the problem was that people, our guys, were not jumping straight away on the customer. you have to jump straight away and the leads coming in. And they took their time. Usually over 72 hours, you just got back to the customers. That's how we lost them. But we're able to see it straight away. When you do these kind of things and you monitor the conversion from step to step, and you have very clear definition, time from step to step, and money from step to step, you always find where are your problems, and you'll see them straight away. The kind of sales guys that we need in the beginning, okay? We usually don't know our quota. We don't know how to sell. The people that are asking, okay, how much are you going to give me in commission, are the guys that you don't want at this point. They have to be able to be with different hats, and they have to be able to sell correctly together with you. Majority of the cases, it's very, very hard to find these kind of guys. I won't dive into it. I just don't want to, people here seem a little bit, you need to sleep. So I want to finish with one thing. This is very, very important for a majority of you guys who are doing sales. Sales calls are never demos. If you call them demos, it's a really bad thing, okay? We don't do demos. People that do demos are unprofessional, okay? What do I mean by that? When you say demo, it's again and again the same thing. Majority of the guys are doing again and again. Nobody fucking cares what you do. Nobody, okay? The only question is for the customer is, do you solve my problem, yes or no? That's all he cares about. And majority of the guys that would do demo, here we have this and this and this and this, hey, this is our product, this is the stuff, all the different stuff. Nobody fucking cares, okay? So this is never called a demo, we do sales calls. And in the sales call, it's divided into 3. The first stuff is, before that you have to come prepared, by the way. You have to take your 10 minutes, whatever it is. The worst thing, by the way, is the founder saying, hey, what does your company do? What's your role in the company? All the different stuff. The first thing we do in sales is create trust between you and me. You're my customers. I'll build trust together with you. Building trust is by showing that I care about you, okay? Having that kind of empathy in the sense that I know what your company does. I know what your role is. I don't know what are your problems. I don't know what are the goals of the company for next year, and I don't know in relation to what we do and how can I help you. And the right questions are the questions that show that you understand, you're in the market, you're a market thought leader, and you can build that things. And that's what we do in the initial and the call. Where do usually the guys here get stuck is in this discovery phase. They don't ask questions. And that's the main thing that I want to come out of here today, and that you understand when you do sales, and just on that side of making sales in the beginning, is that people here come from here to the American guys, and then they look at them up here, which means that when the customers start talking to them, the customer is taking them hand by hand. And I've seen it almost 100% of the times, which I had to change it. And that means that the customer is coming and saying, hey, I need this and this and this. Great. I'm a market thought leader. And when you build that kind of a trust, by the way, with the customer, you walk him hand by hand through the entire process. And he knows that you're able to understand, not your product, by the way. Nobody freaking cares about your understanding of your product. I understand your market. I even throw names of my customers or whatever in the stuff of how you're right now harmed. And I know how to solve that for you. And I know how to implement my product for you to build it. And so when I show you what I do in the demo part of the thing, I don't show you my product. That's not what I do. I show you how I'm going to solve your problem. So in discovery, all I care about is discovering your problem. And in the demo, I only think about how I'm going to solve your problem. And at the end, I'm very much aggressive on closing deals. And again, that's a different part of the difference between farmers and hunters. We have more farmers today that I've seen here than hunters, okay? Especially in the guys that are international. I'm not talking about the local guys here. We have a lot of very good local guys. In Just Join IT, we have great guys that are doing the hunting, okay, and very, very good guys. The problem is shifting them into the international way of selling. There we have more, and that's what I've seen in the farming, because we do have, as I said, customer success SMB guys that are selling very, very nicely, and I have it in other companies of mine that are doing very, very nice work there. So I don't want to continue too much here. This last thing is for the VC guys, between you guys. Whenever I invest in seed, pre-seed, I put 18 months for myself to get to the A round. They don't have a lot of time, and the luxury of Bootstrap is that we don't have investors, and our only investor is one guy. I don't know if you know him, but his name is our customer. He's a very, very nice guy. We love him. And all we care about is that we're profitable on him. And that's what sustains us. In venture, we have a knife on our neck all the time, and we need to get to the next round. Majority of the founders here are doing too many mistakes. It's not only here, all around the globe, and not planning for the next round. So for the VC guys, okay, your planning on these sales points are crucial. You're going to lose your company in a sense of percentage in your company because you didn't plan correctly. Understanding how 2023 is going to change your market, going to change your sales cycles, going to change things that for you to get to the next level is very crucial. That's why if you can go lower stream in your market, it's very, very good, okay? See that you can really learn fast and then start growing from there if you can. Guys, thank you very much. Hopefully this helped you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Ariel. Great presentation, great speech. Okay, maybe it's time for the questions.
Hi, thank you very much for very, very insightful keynote. I have a question because I love that you ask everybody to be hard on numbers. Just a short introduction, user.com, we are going up on the market. So we started with SMBs. Currently, we are at the mid-market, but we want to address the enterprise market. Yeah, we have those numbers. We have our current customer acquisition cost. We have our current LTV, but those numbers are like numbers infected by our history. Like our average revenue per account, per user is not average revenue per account, per user as we want to address. So how to like calculate, not to be treated as a moron because it's like our current monthly average revenue per user is like $700. Yeah, but I want to make it in 1 year double or triple it. Yeah, so like the math is totally different because of time, and maybe you have some understanding, like some tips how to address that problem.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood you 100%, then correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Usually we have blends of our numbers in a sense that I have SMB and mid-level and I count them together as averages. And I'm guessing that's what you meant, is it correct? You blend between the two? When you say 700, how much in the SMB? What's your sales life cycle and what's your average deal in SMB?
Okay, so
only
like
SMB.
cohorts, customers.
I don't have cohorts. I have only, okay. Let me explain one thing. When I do these 3 different go-to-markets, I don't freaking have them together. By the way, my sales guys sell only one thing. I don't have any sales guys selling 2 different go-to-markets. It's the most stupid thing to do, okay? So when I go into these kind of markets, your SMB numbers are your SMB numbers, only SMB. So I have a very clear definition of what is my SMB. Okay, so that means if you're an SMB in my CRM, you're underneath SMB, and I know exactly my sales like an SMB is 2 weeks. My average deal there is $300 MRR, and I know my SMB. My mid-level is X. I know exactly what it is, and that's it. My sales guys, if it comes a customer in SMB, he's the guy to touch it. SMB guy in my company is not allowed to touch mid-level or enterprise accounts. He ruins them. Okay, and so now if I want to grow up, I need to understand from the stuff. So usually when I go up, I understand first thing, if you're already selling mid-level, I understand my mid-level very well. And I start selling it by myself, not getting my sales guys doing it. Usually I do it by myself. I like to do it. But again, I don't know your organization, how you do it. And I start playing with it. The beauty of how we do it, by the way, I'll give you a real example. I have another unicorn of mine. We started to sell $5,000 ARR in the beginning. All of my sales guys in the US, it was a New York-based team, they were selling at $5,000. And we saw that there's no business there for us. We had to grow. And we believed that we can sell them at $30K initially. That was the initial penetration. That was our mid-level. All of our sales guys, we gave them the leads. They were not selling. And you know what they were not selling? They didn't believe that they can. That's one of the things I see here a lot. People just don't believe. A lot of my sales guys, when I said moving for 5K and above, they just don't believe that you can. Why is this the stuff? And when I say to them that in one of my companies that I built in the beginning, I took on the same fucking product that people were paying me $350 MRR, they were paying me afterwards $45,000. And the only thing that changed, I gave them customer success. That's it, just to help them. That thing, you need to build that trust. You need to go by yourself, do that sales. Now, the thing is, you start with lower numbers usually, okay? In that case, by the way, the company, we sold at 30,000, and very quickly we got to 60,000, 80,000, doing 150. Everyone was shocked. That's the fun of building these kind of things. Your product, the same kind of product, by the way, can be sold more, but you discover it step by step. So when you took the numbers that you had in the sales cycle, you take the higher one, okay, the mid-level, you analyze what you currently have, and you put what you think you can take above it, okay? What is my offering above it? What do I give? Why should you pay me more, okay? And how do I position it? And then I try and look, and the first thing you want to look is to get the smack. You're the most stupid guy, you don't know shit, and that's what you're looking for to get from the customer. You want to hear, and you want to hear from him, what will he pay you? Those 30K or whatever it is. Does it make sense to you? Does it answer, or you had another question from it?
No.
Sure, okay.
Thanks. Another questions? Okay.
Hello. We are the company that, by the way, we are selling 70% of our revenue to Israel. So, so we know.
I'm sorry to hear the Israelis are
so we know what
to sell.
chutzpah is. So, but my question is about the sales and the learning curve. So you mentioned that that in Poland we don't have people skilled enough to address the mid-level and the enterprise level sales. I mean, global.
We don't have enough of those guys.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have
So
a little bit here, a little bit there, but not enough for our ecosystem.
Yeah. So, is there any help for us? What would you recommend to the company that wants to sell in this market? Yeah,
we're eating shit. That's exactly why I'm here. We're eating shit. All the companies like yourself, we need to go and take guys that are much more expensive outside, and we do fucking mistakes. You know how much it cost me to do a mistake on a sales guy? Not $500,000. Okay, a sales guy in the States that we take in mid-level and enterprise today pay between 150, the cheapest, okay, to 250, 300 base. Okay, even today. And by the way, salaries didn't change.
So pay it, pray, yeah.
No, but we try to do, again, whoever tells you doesn't do mistakes in HR is a fucking liar, okay? We all do mistakes. The thing is, what I'm trying to say in our stage, when we do that mistake, it doesn't cost me those 250K or double twice. Usually I take two guys selling. It costs me much more, especially because I lost that time. And in a venture-backed company, I lost millions of dollars. And it usually takes me at least half a year to learn that I'm not on the right path. So that's why I'm here and saying to all of us, we need to build this ecosystem, because if we had it here, we would have been able to run our companies much faster, much more healthier, and we need to take responsibility to do it. And between us, I think every founder here has to start thinking how we can help the industry here. And that's, by the way, what worked in Israel for us. And right now, you are suffering, and I fully agree. That's a problem.
This is true. Because we are dealing with Israeli startups, so we see the difference, that there is an ecosystem, there is a grant, there are VCs that have global relations, and our customers start to sell global from the very beginning. Yeah?
So here we do have companies that want to go global from beginning, but it's very hard for them. And that's exactly what we do. And again, in Innovo, that's exactly what we do. I help a lot of those kind of companies, and several of them are here and everything, that in order to sell internationally. But it's not easy to do today here, because first, we don't have a lot of founders. Who freaking cares about VCs, okay? Founders, they're really successful, sold internationally, and know how to do it. We're still very, very, even the guys that are doing it are in the midst of doing it. That has to change, and again, one of the main things is also help each other, talk about it, have groups, and hopefully you'll take it from here and go do it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks. Perfect presentation, by the way. Fucking perfect, as you would say it. Just a simple technical question. If you do you do a lot of cold calls? And like, if you do, like, how do you cold call somebody from USA, from Poland, like through WhatsApp, or just are you getting American phone number?
Okay. First thing, in order to answer you, there's no copy-paste in business. There's never cold calls that work always in every company. So I have companies that cold calling is working for us. I have companies it's irrelevant. That's what I'm pushing every company in the beginning. Go discover what works, what doesn't work. So that's the first thing. To tell you that it works always, that's bullshit. Okay. In my companies that we do cold calling, it's mainly in a way that we have very, very strong guys that are able to communicate well very quickly. So the kind of people I like there are people that are very transactional and understand other people very, very quickly. Okay, because you have those 30 seconds to build it. And those kind of guys are very hard to find. It doesn't matter where, by the way. Okay, so that's the first thing, just to explain the kind of people. System of using and everything. So again, as someone was talking about hours here in Israel, by the way, we have other problems. Sundays are working day. Friday is not a working day. We work like crazy, okay? We do the Elon Musk. We don't care about 24/7. That's what you do. You work those hours. System-wise, we always use American numbers, okay? And I call from Israel. I had also teams in the Philippines that I built for my companies. We don't care. But always, I want the American, especially in the beginning, to think that this is an American company. I don't care about the accent, by the way. In America, they have a lot of guys with different accents, okay? Especially go to the Valley, majority of the guys are there with accents from other countries, and that's not a problem. The problem is, again, if they see it from abroad, it's a problem. By the way, a lot of my companies here, I asked them to change their LinkedIn to America, okay? So they're not in Warsaw, they're in the US, we're an American company, that's what we do. Very, very common, by the way. And that's, I think, regarding for cold calling, I can tell you another point there, that the thing is, right now, we have a very big problem in lead generation in B2B, especially going upstream. Okay. Events are going down next year. I don't know how much you know it, but all the corporates today in the States and other countries that are not EU with the La La Land, they are diminishing right now all the expenses, everything. So they're going to very selective events. That means that my customers are not coming to those kind of events, a lot of them. So the fighting on how to do lead generation is becoming harder and harder. So your question, again, I'm not talking about specific on cold calling, but all the different ways to generate, they have much less time to care for you. Both in email, LinkedIn approach, whatever it is. We need to be very aggressive today in order to do it, and you need to change and shift your way of mind on focusing on how you really change your pitch from, there's a scale, nice to have to have to have. Today we have to be close as much as possible to the have to have. Majority of us are much closer to nice to have. And that becomes a very big issue when we approach on the first, when we do outbound. And you have to be able with a pitch of a have to have.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Okay, another question? Maybe I'll just add two of them. Okay, there's a lot.
Hi. I'm a sales guy, and you talked about those lacking sales guys in Poland. So I'm just asking, how do we produce them? How do you produce them? Like, what do we can do? We can discover the buying process of the companies, or how to be a sales guy which is selling to enterprises.
First thing, yes, I'm very happy you're a sales guy. If you want a job in one of my companies, you're more than invited to send me information. Look, at the end of the day, we are taking today's sales guys in my companies from here, and we're starting to do that. We are teaching them, but it takes time. What doesn't work and didn't work in the past for us, and it's also in Israel, by the way, were the enterprise local guys. Very, very hard to convert them, but we are looking for guys that are open to learn. Okay, smart, and they have aggressiveness in them. Okay, especially I'm talking about the hunter. Okay, and taking the transactional guy and validating, can I move him into becoming a more strategic sales guy? And that's work that we do, okay? So when we put a sales guy in our teams, for the first 3 months, you work with one of our guys that, let's say I have Avi from my team. Avi built all the entire team at SimilarWeb, if you know it, ClickTail, a lot of other unicorns, and he works together with them, okay? We have other guys in our group that really do that and really build those kind of teams, and that's what we're doing right now in our companies, which we have to do. And again, but the problem is it's one by one by one, and it's not enough. And hopefully, again, we're thinking about doing something which is more machinery, like we did in Israel, like more teaching, and maybe we'll be doing that next year here. I'm talking with Innova to see if maybe we'll do something together here. And hopefully we'll be able to help a lot of sales guys to help our companies, and that's what we need here. But I can promise you one thing, if you invest into it, you're gonna be a millionaire out of it. Just that you understand one thing, here in Israel, here in Poland, nobody appreciates ESOP. Okay, you know why? It's the same thing that we had in Israel. ESOP is worth 0 today. Nobody has done exits almost. Nobody's seen money. Do you know how many millionaires today, employees, millionaires I have in my companies? Not tens, not hundreds, we're talking about thousands of millionaires out of those companies. Okay, and these are guys that were very crucial in the beginning of the days of the company joining in. And you know why? Because they came early days, they started to build it, they got ESOP, okay? And those companies became unicorn, okay? When you get an exit of $4 billion, a lot of people become millionaires out of it. So a sales guy today is a very important role today. We just don't have the right sales guys that we need in our companies. But if you're going to invest in learning and willing to do that, and hopefully a lot of sales guys will be doing it here, they're going to make a lot of money out of it.
Okay, thank you for all of the questions, and thank you, Ariel, for your fantastic presentation. Really, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for your patience, and thank you, Matt, thank you, Mick, and thank you, Ariel. I'm really proud of the quality you bring here to this event, and I think that it is one of the best Aula events so far this year. And I think that that's why we are doing this, and this is a very great move to make really strong fundamentals for us to understand how to build global companies, and getting back with some answers regarding what are the next steps for us. I really believe that we can create a really strong community of startups enthusiasts here at Aula Polska. So thank you once again, and hope we will be here for the next events. I'm also asking you to join our next event at 14th of December. It will be the last event this year, when we will also reveal the finalists and the winners of Aula. We have over 200 startups that take place in this contest. There will be also an interesting fireside chat with Michał Sadowski, so there will be also good quality during these events, so you are more than welcome there. Okay, thank you for this event, and let's go and networking. Bye.